We are excited to welcome you to the inaugural San Diego Business Journal Black Businesses Matter in San Diego Awards in association with the Central San Diego Black Chamber of Commerce. This is the first year for this event where we recognize the significant accomplishments of Black-owned businesses. The San Diego Business Journal is honored to have this opportunity to be able to showcase the very leaders who exemplify the spirit of San Diego. Please welcome San Diego Business Journal President and Publisher, Barb Chodas.
Welcome, everyone. I'm Barb Chodas, President Publisher of the San Diego Business Journal. And on behalf of the San Diego Business Journal and the Central San Diego Black Chamber of Commerce, it is our pleasure to present to you the 2021 Black-Owned Business of the Year Awards ceremony. In addition to this event, for the entire month of February in honor of Black History Month, the San Diego Business Journal dedicated editorial coverage highlighting Black entrepreneurs who've achieved so much in their professional lives, as well as contributed significantly in our San Diego community. Black-owned businesses have enriched our city in every industry, from law to hospitality, from tech to nonprofits. They've helped us define who we are as a community and inspire us all in their achievements. Our goal in doing this is to make certain that Black businesses are recognized for both their achievements and contributions, and to build their awareness to get support from the San Diego business community. Before we begin our program, I'd like to take this opportunity to thank our sponsors, because without their support, this event would not be possible. Please join me in thanking Kaiser Permanente, Sony Electronics, and Tutris. Thanks again to all of our sponsors. We truly appreciate your support. Let's now begin our program. To welcome all of us, we will hear from Donna DeBerry, President and CEO of the Central San Diego Black Chamber of Commerce, and the Mayor of San Diego, Todd Gloria. After we announce our Lifetime Achievement honorees, we will have a panel discussion of CEOs who will share their insights and best practices on diversity, equity, and inclusion, and discuss how companies can create meaningful change and inclusive leadership across our region. We will conclude with the awards ceremony honoring the Black-owned businesses who've done so much to empower our community of business with their innovation, strength, and vision. Now, please join me in welcoming Donna DeBerry.
Thank you, Barb. I would like to thank the San Diego Business Journal for their partnership with the Central San Diego Black Chamber of Commerce for creating such an amazing event. And under the leadership of Barb Chodas, she has taken the San Diego Business Journal to the next level of inclusion. The editorial team is intentionally featuring more Black businesses, and I think these efforts not only provide opportunities to shop local, but provides exposure to and for Black-owned businesses. So thank you, Barb and the editorial team. To start out our event, it is my distinct pleasure to introduce the Mayor of San Diego, Todd Gloria. Mayor Gloria has committed in his 100-day plan and beyond to foster diversity, inclusion, and equity by breaking down barriers that disproportionately hinders generational wealth for the Black community in the city of San Diego. I present to you Mayor Todd Gloria.
Hi, I'm San Diego Mayor Todd Gloria. I'm honored to welcome you to the 2021 Black Businesses Matter virtual event. In these times, this meeting of the minds is significant and very much needed. Our local Black businesses have been hit especially hard during this pandemic, and it's going to take all of us coming together to build back better. As mayor, the objective of my administration is to build a San Diego for all of us. Doing so means breaking down the barriers and structural inequities in our governmental institutions and our society that have held Black-owned businesses back, that have prevented Black-owned businesses from an equal shot at success and the ability to build generational wealth. And so I want to be clear. A strong recovery from COVID-19 will be inclusive. It will be equitable. I want San Diego to be known as the city that embraces inclusion and innovation to support the growth of small businesses. That work starts today, and I hope you will join me in partnership in these efforts. Thank you for being here today. Take care and be well.
Thank you, Mayor Gloria. Now I'd like to introduce Jay Harn, Editor-in-Chief of the San Diego Business Journal, who will now announce the Lifetime Achievement Award honorees.
Thank you, Barb. Now it is my great pleasure to announce our first Lifetime Achievement honorees, Floyd and Sandra Robinson. Both Floyd and Sandra grew up in San Diego. Sandra graduated from Lincoln High School and Floyd graduated from San Diego High School. He became a sports legend in San Diego. He played both football and baseball in high school, but rather than accept the football scholarship, he joined, at the time, the minor league San Diego Padres, where he set fielding records. From there, he was moved to Major League Baseball, where he was known as one of the top hitters playing for the Chicago White Sox. But what the couple is most proud of is the development of the Golden Age Garden, a low-income senior housing complex in southeast San Diego that has now served the San Diego senior community in an affordable and inclusive way for more than 25 years. It took 5 years for the Robinsons to convince banks that the $2.8 million loan they needed to construct the Golden Age Garden was worth the risk, but they were persistent and did just that. Now the 76-unit independent living complex has become a valuable community resource. Continue to give back to the city they love. In 2007, they established the nonprofit Floyd Robinson Foundation. Floyd and Sandra were married for more than 50 years. Congratulations, Floyd and Sandra Robinson. Now please join me in welcoming back Donna DeBerry.
Congratulations to the Robinsons. Now please welcome Mitch Mitchell, Vice President of State Government and External Affairs for Semper Energy, who will lead a CEO panel discussion on inclusive leadership competencies. This panel will share their leadership successes, challenges, and opportunities in building an inclusive workplace and supporting underrepresented businesses. Mitch?
Hello, I'm Mitch Mitchell with Semper Energy, and I am proud to be here today to moderate a panel about a very important discussion and topic that is happening probably throughout every business and community in the San Diego region right now, if not throughout the entire nation. On May 20th of last year, a horrific incident happened that caused the entire world to be in shock and a tremendous amount of grief throughout the nation and the world. And with that incident occurred an awakening of sort, and a discussion began to ensue about the issue of diversity, equity, and inclusion. And today we're going to be joined by a panel of leaders who will discuss what their efforts entail to truly bring this discussion of diversity, equity, and inclusion into the modern age and to make it a reality within the spaces that they're trying to lead. The focus at the end of the George Floyd protest was really about police brutality, but it shifted. As many said, we have to have this conversation about this integrated America, the integrated country, our integrated cities and communities. And one of the things that we began to realize was it was going to be a tough job for leaders of organizations to truly create this conversation, which could be uncomfortable at times, but is necessary. And to try and create sustainable, meaningful change amidst the people that you're trying to lead. And so we're going to get into some questions today about the efforts that are happening and the struggles, but also the focus and the hope. And before we get started, we want to introduce you to our esteemed panel and have them give you a brief introduction of who they are, and then we'll get into questions. And we'll start with you, Mike.
Hi, Mitch. Thanks for having me. I really am glad to be part of this great panel on such a relevant topic. I'm Mike Fasulo. I'm with Sony Electronics right here in San Diego. I'm the President and Chief Operating Officer.
Very
Glad
nice,
to be
Mike.
here.
Thank you very much, Mike. Next, we'll go to you, Mark Stewart.
Hi, I'm Mark Stewart, President and CEO of the San Diego Foundation. We're the region's largest community foundation and have been in place since 1975. And since that time, we've granted out more than $1.3 billion to nonprofits in this region.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you very much for being here today. Caroline Nguyen, you are up next.
Thank you, Mitch, and I really appreciate being part of this conversation today. I'm Caroline Nguyen. I'm the CEO of San Diego Gas and Electric, and just a proud member of this community, and really look forward to this discussion today.
And rounding it out, Doug Winter.
Thanks, Mitch. Very excited to be here and participate in this panel. I'm the founder and CEO of a company called Seismic Software. We're based up in Del Mar. We are a startup software company, so a little different perspective perhaps, but excited to participate in the conversation.
Thank you very much again for all of you being here today. As we jump into the questions, I want to start out with the first question, and it's the issue of inclusion and equity. I recently had a conversation with a consultant who talked about the difficulties within an organization of really promoting inclusion and equity. And the one thing that stood out in the conversation with the consultant was equity is sometimes the hardest thing, because equity is, in the minds of many, it's either equity as it relates to how much money you're making compared to your peers, equity and opportunity, but most importantly, it's equity in the opportunity to fail, which means you've been put into leadership positions. And when you start to talk about equity, inclusion pops up right after, because this whole, the definition of inclusion, meaning are you including everybody? Is everybody feel welcomed? Talk a little bit about what some of the challenges that you have as leaders and CEOs in building a culture of inclusion. And if you want to chime in on the issue of the difficulty of explaining equity, you can. And we'll start with you, Mike.
Great, thanks, Mitch. It's a loaded question. There's a lot to cover there. Let me take equity off the table from a compensation point of view, because we have equal pay for everybody, and we actually look at it twice a year throughout the entire organization. And you could imagine what an undertaking it is, but it's quite important to make sure that we are paying everyone equally, regardless of anything diversity related. I think the area that I want to talk a little bit more about is the area of culture, right? Because culture doesn't happen overnight, and it's very difficult, any culture you're trying to drive, to be consistent in getting that culture throughout your organization, hence inclusion and engagement. With regard to culture, look, we're a 75-year young company, obviously owned by a Japanese conglomerate. So we've been dealing with diversity for decades, diversity on a global scale. But here in North America, for the Sony Electronics Group that I lead, I think it takes commitment, and it's a word maybe overused, but not top down only. Obviously, myself and my leadership team have to walk the walk and talk the talk, and really, show that we're committed. But the other part that I found even more engaging and more motivating and inspirational is bottom up. And we've developed a number of employee networks that really drive that culture of inclusion, and particularly as it relates to the events, the tragic events that you were speaking to. We call crucial conversations, and we brought the teams together to say it's okay to ask questions. Obviously, respect and dignity always, but if you're uncomfortable, it's okay.
Sure.
Let's have the conversation. And we've been doing this not only in this past year, which has really heightened it, but we've been doing it for some time. And I think that's an important facet, that it's not look, 400 years is way too long. My generation hasn't done a great job in social justice, but we have to have the conversation, and culture takes time. So I think, those are part of the challenges. The other is the numbers, the mere numbers, and all of us as CEOs, we're numbers guys and gals as it relates to the P&L, but from a talent point of view, the numbers matter as well. And maybe a little later we get into the conversation, I could talk to the team about some of the things we're doing to affect that part. And obviously, best person qualified for the job, obviously equal employment opportunity, but there's some mechanisms that we're using as a leadership team to drive that. So it's critically important to us. But you're right, it is a culture, and the culture takes time, and it needs commitment and sustainability.
Perfect. Okay, Mark, I appreciate that answer, Mike. Mark, I'm going to go to you on this question and have you chime in a little bit on this as well. I think, Mike mentioned the issue of culture and building the right culture, because if you have the right culture, then people are going to feel comfortable asking questions and communicating, and you're going to break that silo of, well, I don't want to say anything, and therefore I'm not going to learn anything because I'm not talking to people. I mean, give us your thoughts on this issue of inclusive and how you really create that culture of inclusive and people believe that there really is inclusivity and equity.
Yeah, thanks, Mitch. I'm really glad that Mike brought up the term culture. So for me, I define culture pretty simply. It's our shared ways, our shared work, and our shared values. And so one of the things that when I came to the San Diego Foundation, that it was already doing really well, was every week was a culture week. And each employee had the opportunity to own a week and to represent whatever culture that they wanted to. Some did it ethnically, some did it based on their race, some of it did it on their travels and what they've experienced. So it really helps everyone just to get a sense of their colleagues that they have. But I also think, for me, I'm at a nonprofit, I'm in such a blessed position because at the San Diego Foundation, the challenge is about abundance, not about scarcity. I have a staff that fully embraces DEI and the wish for us to be as anti-racist an organization as possible. And so my biggest challenge is keeping up with their great ideas. Again, for me, while I appreciate the term inclusion, I really prefer the word used by Berkeley's Haas Institute leader, John A. Powell, and that is belonging.
Belonging, absolutely.
If you think about inclusion for a moment, that means others have to join me, or I have to join others welcoming me into their circle. In belonging, we're all doing it together. And I would much prefer that our staff says, I feel like I belong at the San Diego Foundation, as opposed to I feel like I'm included here. So my personal goal is to have a staff that feels passionate for the work, supported to do their best, and they feel like it's a place where they know they belong today and for many years to come.
That's a great comment, Mark. That is an excellent comment. And it's something that it's ironic that you brought that up. It's something that the last week and a half I've been speaking to our CEO about, Jeff Martin, is that sense of belonging. And this next question is going to be for Caroline and Doug, because it ties to this sense of belonging. Mike leads a very large organization and the company is global. And I think when you think about, for Caroline and Doug, when you think about creating the right culture, there are core competencies as a leader that you have to display, that you have to express, and that you have to demand. And when you have a large number of employees, you want to hope that they all feel like they belong and they're part of the success of the culture. But it's easier said than done. And so let's talk about the core competencies that you have to have as a leader, especially right now in the face of this almost demand for better, improved cultures that are diverse, really do create this sense of belonging, and there's an understanding of the equity aspects. And so, Caroline, we'll start with you. Think about this from a leadership competency standpoint. What do you have to have? Because this is not always easy for leaders.
Yeah, I too love the word belonging. I recently saw a job post from Peloton as the director of belonging, and I was really struck with that. But as I think about what are the competencies that are really needed to lead a diverse organization, I'd like to start with you need to have commitment, and you need to cultivate a diverse and inclusive workforce that takes time and it takes energy, right? And I think inclusive leaders are really driven by their values, including really a deep-seated sense of, I would say, fairness. And you need to believe that really creating this welcoming culture begins with them. It begins with the CEO at the top, and that they possess really a strong sense of personal responsibility for change, right? Mm-hmm. And I also think it requires courage, right? We need leaders who aren't afraid to challenge. Sometimes there could be entrenched organizational attitudes or practices. And I also think you need to exercise self-awareness, right? it's critically important for leaders to be self-aware and identify, understand, and recognize and correct their own biases, right? And have really the courage and the humility, I think, really go hand in hand in that aspect. I would say, I think you also have to be curious, right? You have to be really open-minded and have that growth mindset, and a passion for learning and really a desire for exposure to different ideas. And I would end with, I think you also have to be a good listener, right? Being able to empathize with experiences that you've never had. Mike talked at the start about these community conversations, and we did the same at SD and Semper, and it really opened my eyes to the experiences of all of our employees and how that impacts what they do here at work. And I was really struck and moved by that. So I think you have to be empathetic around that and put yourself in other shoes. And I think most importantly is to acknowledge that we can all be better at this. And diversity, equity, and inclusion and belonging really all go hand in hand.
And so, okay, very nice, Caroline. I love the fact that you use the word empathy, because I think that sometimes is easy to overlook when there's a lack of it within a culture. And I like that. Doug, what are your thoughts on the same question?
Yeah, our journey is a little bit different. When we start the company as a startup, there was a lot of equity because nobody got paid anything. And, the employees were anyone that I could convince, hey, come join us on this journey, right? And somewhere over that 10 years, now today we're 1,000 people and offices kind of all over the world at this point in time. Somewhere in between there and today, that when we started, there was a day where, hey, we've reached a point where we should become more mature about how we do these things. And we should make the investments in some of these kinds of programs to make sure that we are living up to our culture. And we invested a lot in our culture and being one that is inclusive. Personally, I've always looked at inclusion, through the eyes of making me a better leader, in that if I have good, diverse ideas around the table, I'm going to hear and I'm going to find things and do things and be exposed to ideas that I might otherwise miss out on. And so for me, one of the core and most important values is being a good listener, being open to the fact that great ideas can come from anywhere and they will come from anywhere. And I think as a leader that you do yourself a huge disservice if you're shut off to hearing those ideas. I agree. Empathy is a huge word, and being self-aware. Growing up in the Midwest in a small town in rural Ohio, was a very, very sheltered, privileged way of growing up and learning history in a certain way, and believing, hey, I'm a good person. I do things the right way. I make good decisions, and I'm conduct myself the way that I should. But then having, the experience that was led by a lot of our employees, where we had listening sessions and we conducted unconscious bias training for our teams, opened my eyes to the fact that, hey, there's a lot of things that I thought I knew, that I thought were true, that I thought I understood, that weren't true and aren't true, and that I need to really take a step back and understand that about myself. And I think our employees appreciate the fact that I've been open with them about that in my own journey and education. And we've really tried to make the space to allow that to happen. So I think empathy as a leader, critically important, but really also being very open to the fact that, what you think might not be true. And that, you will lose out if you aren't creating an environment where you're going to get diversity of inputs and ideas and thoughts.
It's such an important final statement there about, you lose out if you don't get input from a diverse voice, from a diversity of voices. And one of the things that I think happens in certain situations are people believe that, well, if you're doing one thing for one group, then you're leaving somebody else out. And you get into that controversy there, because are you only focusing on one group of employees, and that sense of belonging that Mark brought, disappeared. Now, I will chime in here on the belonging piece. Caroline mentioned, Peloton. I have a Peloton, and my wife believes that my sense of belonging with the Peloton instructors sometimes is a little disruptive. You know, when I talk about, she says, "What do you have on your calendar today?" I said, "Well, I'm gonna go with Allie, and then maybe Emma Lovewell. I don't know yet." And she says that's a little much, but I think this belonging aspect is important. And this next question is going to be aimed at Mike and Caroline, because this belonging component is the question is how do you make employees, how do you make it so that you're supporting your employees of color during this time without, you know, creating the sense that your other employees feel like they're not belonging now because they're not in that base. So talk about how you've had to try and create this sense of belonging and this sense of support for your employees of color, your employees of color during this time period, because again, the pandemic has impacted your ability to connect, right? Everybody's working from home. So it's not like you can get everybody into a conference room and an auditorium and say, let's talk, right? You've had to do everything via video and email. So talk a little bit about what you're doing and whether you think it's working. And, you know, again, this is all based on the fact that you're not in a normal operating position. And Caroline, we'll start with you and then we'll go to Mike.
You know, we do have a very diverse workforce already. And I would say many of our employees struggle with similar issues due to the pandemic. So as a leader, what I've tried to do is really have that personal connection. It might be a phone call. It might be a one-on-one. It might be a coffee chat, if you will. But I feel that, you know, in this pandemic, employees need more connection. So I've tried to do some of those simple things, even if it's just, you know, calling employees, seeing how they're doing, and understanding that there's a lot of people struggling to keep their kids virtual learned while also do their jobs and be on, you know, 10 Teams meetings a day. You know, so I think an example is needing time off and flexible work arrangements to take care of these small children, right? Managing these distance learnings. I'm blessed because my daughter's 16 and she's self-sufficient, you know, in the virtual learning, but I also know I have team members that have very small children, that have children that are kindergarten, that are trying to virtual learn. So we've tried to create these flexible work arrangements for all employees, because I think that's important, especially for our working parents. And then, you know, I think taking into account also varying life circumstances. You know, we put different variety of programs and protocols in place to help. You know, we have SDG&E resources for working parents and caregivers. We have tutoring reimbursements, the alternate working schedules. And we also try to be very thoughtful to not schedule meetings between 11:30 and 1 p.m. And then, you know, at the beginning, I was back to back with zero breaks. So then we started going to 25 and 50-minute meetings so that you can at least check on the kids or, you know, just be able to take a quick break before coming back. But I think one of the things we've also done is we've adopted a COVID-19 sick leave policy before it was mandated. So, you know, we gave an extra 80 hours of emergency paid sick leave, and we did that again in 21. And that's been very helpful for people that either had to use it for themselves or they were taking care of, you know, a family member that was sick. So those are just a few things that we've done for all employees. But I think specifically, you know, we've also started a pilot of an employee resource group. So we have our first, you know, Black employee resource group. Mitch and I had the opportunity to formally kick that off yesterday. They've been meeting since this pandemic, and I've had a couple opportunities to interact with them. So it's just been great to be able to have this pilot group, and we, you know, when successful, we plan to, you know, have other employee resource groups form in our company. So that's just a couple things that we've done at SDG&E.
Okay, Mike, we'll go to you. I mean, you know, again, you're working from home. Pandemic has impacted your ability to really probably do some of the things you would have done normally in this environment where you're trying to really connect with your employees of color and create this environment, this culture, while also making sure everybody else felt like they belong. Talk a little bit about that effort.
Sure, it'd be my pleasure. And let me just say, I so enjoy sitting on these panels with Caroline, because this is our second or third we've done on different topics. but we have so much in common
do.
on the activities that we're doing with our companies. I just really appreciate it. It's pretty phenomenal. Similarly, we've instituted free Fridays once a month. We normally stop at 3 p.m. on Fridays. It's okay if dogs are barking in the background on Teams calls and children are pulling, and or if somebody flex time, if people don't, they need to take care of their children, they need to take care of their elders, they need to take care of their family, fine, then you'll see them on email at 8 p.m., which work-life balance is an issue, but during the pandemic, we're trying to get by. So I think a lot of things in common with what Caroline said. And I also want to appreciate the leadership capability Caroline talked about regards to courage and empathy. They're kind of conflicting, right? Because people expect courage to be, the big tough person, but empathy is really what Doug was talking about, listening and all. So it's just wonderful to be part of this. As it relates to our people of color and some of the things that we've been doing. I talked about these crucial conversations, but there's a number of other things. From a business perspective, inclusion is good for business. Diversity is good for business. Right here in Sorrento Valley, we have the world-renowned research firm NPD, and we do a lot of work with them. They cover all sectors, and they'll tell you that 90% during this pandemic, 90% of consumers are likely to switch brands to companies that are associated with a cause, the companies that are associated with improving social justice, with companies that are associated with leading social change, right? So from a business perspective, it's a very valuable thing. And there's some education and teaching that has to go along with that because it's not intuitive, right? People, especially those with bias. I guess we all have bias, but those that don't know how to manage their biases. So education is a big part. But I think I mentioned Ujima in the beginning, and this is an employee-led network group for people of color, for African-American people of color, Blacks, Brown, within our company to make it a better environment, but it's not limited to people of color. It's led by people of color, and it's actually a lot of fun.
Sure.
Uncomfortable at times,
but education.
But a lot of fun. Sure. Because they do we're doing trivia quizzes and we're doing education, but in a fun and engaging way.
Okay.
We celebrate every month a different culture around the globe, and obviously this month is Black History Month. So we have events going, multiple events during the week at the electronics group, but then at the Sony group, we also have cross-company events going. We've got 2 keynotes happening this month for the Sony group. So it's really, a matter of, and I guess Doug said it, listening, right? Listening to what is going to make people feel they belong, they feel more comfortable, and especially during the pandemic. And then the last point is, we look at COVID and social justice or injustice connected. And we've instituted 2 funds globally, 100 million apiece for both causes. And we're finding that there's a big crossover. So the socioeconomic issue is real, and we really need to. Somebody else said it. Real change. We need to affect real change.
Well, thank you, Mike. So we're coming up almost against our time over here, but I'm going to take these last 2 with Doug and Mark. Mark, I'm going to start with you. You heard the last few minutes of comments about what you're doing. Your organization has been phenomenal since the beginning of COVID. And in particular, you focused on the struggle, people who are struggling the most, and you've had a significant overlay of your giving and your focus on people of color and communities of concern. Talk a little bit about that aspect, and then at the end of that, would you agree that what you're doing is truly exemplifying that you're demonstrating that this discussion of diversity, equity, and inclusion isn't just a buzz phrase, but it can really be real. And Doug, I'm going to have you end on that one too, which is what you have to do or keep doing to make sure that this is not just a moment that's going to disappear, but that diversity, equity, and inclusion is a must, not a maybe. So Mark, we'll start with you on what you're doing, and then we'll throw it over to Doug.
Yeah, thanks, Mitch. So, I always go back and saw a wonderful video recently from Dr. Bettina Love on the difference between being an ally for racial and social justice and a co-conspirator.
Yes.
I'm probably, as I think about it myself, and, as CEOs, we've got to think about where are we on this journey. I know I am definitely an ally, but what am I going to do to become that co-conspirator?
Sure.
And there's a wonderful woman that we're about to hire to be our DEI consultant at the foundation, Beena Patel, who talks about seeking comfort or seeking progress, and saying they're diametrically opposed. So that's kind of that journey we're on, but it's also this intentionality, particularly on my part. What exactly are we going to do? Because words are cheap and actions are what we're going to be measured by. So, as I think about what we've done, as an organization, we now advertise all of our open positions in all the community newspapers, especially the Voice and Viewpoint here in San Diego County. And we've also started bias-free resume review, which is, a lot of work on our HR single person, but, gender, race, ethnicity, all of their markers are kicked out. And now all of our hiring, in the last 10 hires, 50% have been men and women of color. And that's been a chief piece for us. But, in our grant making, we've also put an emphasis on supporting Black, API, and Latinx small businesses with grants to chambers of commerces and those supporting it. We're also going to, and our board just voted on this, we're going to start to put a diversity filter on all of our programmatic grant making. So we wish to invest in nonprofits that are on a DEI journey as a priority. And we're going to be intentional on racial justice and diversity in ourselves, but seeking about that for others. So the other big program, and I know we don't have a lot of time, but the one I'm just so excited about is our Black Community Investment Fund that we co-founded with the Central San Diego Black Chamber. The focus is on generational wealth building. Right now in the country, the average white family has $171,000 in net worth. The average Black family has $19,000 in net worth. So February 22nd, we're going to kick off our Black home ownership program. We've assembled more than $3.5 million to get 50 Black families into their first owned home. So it's going to be a huge lift for them in terms of their down payment and closing costs. But that's just the start. And we know we're in this for the long haul, because to make up 400 years of racism, almost 100 years of redlining in San Diego, this is something that's going to take an awful lot of time, because we need to affect not only practices and policies, but we also have to affect beliefs. Sure. And that's one where I think we're going to be in it for a much longer time.
Well, and again, it goes back to my comment earlier about sustainability. I mean, you're trying to create long-term impact that's sustainable. And Doug, you mentioned that you were part of your culture is a byproduct of a startup, and finding 1,000. You're now 1,000 of employees, and you're all over the place. But and so that makes it even harder for you at times, probably, because how do you ensure that you're building a culture that is now modeled around the importance of DE&I, and making sure it's sustainable and long lasting, and more importantly, becomes a part of your DNA. So whether you're there or not, it's happening.
Yeah, I mean, first let me say, Mark, that's really exciting stuff, and congratulations. I'm really excited to hear. I'm learning a lot today too, so it's great to have that opportunity. But Mitch, it's, we have a wonderful history in our country, don't we, of getting all excited about something for a week or so.
Exactly.
Maybe a week's a long time, actually, these days.
Yeah. Sometimes just a couple of days. You're right.
We move on to the next thing. And look, I think it's encouraging that, all these months later, since the murder of George Floyd, we're still having conversations like these. To me, that's encouraging. But I'm also self-aware enough to know, as a company, it's really easy for us, as we're fighting for survival and fighting for that next step of growth, to lose track of this. We were on the journey, prior to last year. We had organically formed a DE&I council that was moving along. It was, all volunteers on the team from different parts of the organization. They were making recommendations. They were doing lots of meetings and had a lot of good intent, but it was difficult to kind of see the sustained progress. When the murder of George Floyd happened in the following, events, we made space for our employees. We had the opportunity to have listening sessions. We did training around unconscious bias for the managers, for all the employees. We have since hired a full-time DE&I leader at the company, which is a pretty significant investment for us at our size and our scale, because we feel like that's the way that we're going to be able to keep ourselves accountable, is by having, making sure that there is sustained progress and someone who's thinking about it, 24/7, and can keep all of the right wheels moving in the right direction. We've made Juneteenth a permanent holiday for the company. We did that last year, and I was amazed to learn the history and at the same time baffled that somehow it wasn't a holiday for the country yet, and how many of us had no idea the importance of it. So we're taking some steps like that, I think it's something we have to keep our guard up. It'd be very easy for us to slide backwards again in the days where we're all distracted with a million other things, and the very real impact of COVID and the pandemic on the economy and on individuals. So it's a big challenge, but one we're committed to.
It's this next question is that I'm going to have each of you answer. Is a good addition to what Doug said. Again, normally we move on. We live in a culture where we move on. It's a day discussion, it's a 3-day discussion, but what we have approaching us is this coming up in May, and there's gonna be a lot of questions about what have we done right, or have we done anything, and there's gonna be a big focus on what goes on afterwards. And I guess this next question for you really is, for all of you, is if you think about one thing that you did right, talk about that quickly, and then how do you respond to the question of, we may be even more divided as a nation today than we were in May of last year. What do you do going forward? What do you have to do more of going forward to make sure, again, that you and your organizations truly come together and get closer, that sense of belonging and understanding of the importance of this discussion of diversity, equity, and inclusion? And we'll start with you, Mark, then Doug, then Mike, then Caroline.
Thanks, Mitch. If I think back, ever since this day of awakening or reckoning in May with the murder of George Floyd, probably the one thing that we have done right is recognize that we don't have the talents internally to be able to lead us on our DEI journey. We've got lots of great intentions. We just don't have the talent. And that's why we decided that we would look out of our organization to a consultant to be able to help us, so that, again, we're focused on being as anti-racist a community foundation as we possibly can be. And so I think, again, it's a recognition that this is a journey for us, that we're all at different places, and that if we want to have this being an effort for which we all belong to it, we just know it not only is something that, as Doug says, happens today, happens tomorrow, but really continues forward. And the great thing is I've got a board to whom I report, who are very much committed to this and wanting to know not only what they can do, but how can they help press us to continue to keep going forward.
Wonderful, wonderful. Doug? Yeah,
I'm proud, I think, as a company, of the way we've genuinely embraced the fact that we need to change and we need to do better. And it's again, we have a tendency as a society to pay lip service and say all the right things at all the right times. But knowing my team as well as I do, and knowing the various leaders in the organization, there's genuine commitment. And I'm also, for myself, I think one of the best things I've done is just committed to a continuous education program, and putting in my I don't read books anymore because I fall asleep, but my Audible collection,
Sure.
a series of stories and histories and nonfiction that is helping educate me, re-educate me to my own biases and to a view of history that frankly I didn't appreciate and understand or know existed.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you, Doug. Mike, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, thanks, Mitch. And, a lot of what the other folks have said, I think we're probably, we didn't try to avoid it. We didn't try to wish it went away.
Sure.
We realized real change is required, and this is a movement, and embrace that movement. You said earlier, how do you avoid it not being a buzzword? Well, sustainability avoids it not being a buzzword. And I think that's true internally and externally, just like we're having this panel in this conversation.
Sure.
So I'm proud that, we've embraced it from a point of view of, we don't know everything. We need to learn, we need to listen. We need to feel uncomfortable. We need to invest, put your money where your mouth is, internally and externally. And with that, my final point would be a challenge to this group and the San Diego community. When I listen to each and every one of us, we're all doing great things. How much stronger would it be if we got together and shared resources and invested together and really affected change from youth all the way through the organization? So I'll end with that, but thank you, Mitch.
Thank you, Mike. And Carolyn, we'll end it with you.
What I would say is at STG&E, we've always had a culture of like innovation and continuous improvement and diversity. And I'm an engineer by degree, so I'm always looking at key performance indicators. So I'm looking at our leading wildfire strategy, or I'm looking at our clean energy transition, or I'm looking at 50% of the people at SDG&E are people of color. So I think it's easy to get lulled into that you're doing well. However, society's telling us we need to do better. So I think that's really important. So even though companies think they're doing really well, there is huge room for improvement here. So what I would tell you, the one thing that I think we're doing is, after we had those community dialogues, we developed a racial equity action plan. And it's much like a project plan, if you will. And that's guiding our work to positively impact our culture and really develop a deeper understanding of the issues. So the plan is really built on 5 pillars. It's really built on leading from the top and a number of activities in there, accelerating engagement. It's based on creating opportunities. The 4th is driving conscious inclusion. And then the 5th is really partnering with the community. So we have a whole project plan, and we look at it once a month to make sure, because there's always new things that are happening. So this is really a live document, but we're running this like a project and making sure that every month we're making progress. And I would end with saying that our annual performance review process has been updated, and it takes into account contributions to diversity and inclusion at the individual level, as well as our executive incentive compensation is tied to meeting specific goals around diversity and inclusion as part of that action plan. So I think those are just a few things, I think, Mitch, that we're doing that can make sure that we're continuing to get better and understand and progress our culture.
Well, I want to say thank you to all of you today. You have been insightful. You've been inspirational. And I think more importantly for anybody watching this and listening to this is you've really set the tone for there's much more to do, but we're off to a good start. And, again, it's easy to get lulled into, well, we spent a year talking about this. Isn't it better? No, it's a journey. And we are starting this journey, and we're going to be stronger together than we are apart. And I would say this in closing, generally we try and brace for the next bad moment. I think what you guys have all stated is we're embracing the moment, and we're going to prepare for the future and make the future better. And each of you as leaders are to be commended. So thank you very much for joining me today. Thank you for your words and for your leadership. And I look forward to the next opportunity to have this conversation with you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mitch. And thank you to all of our esteemed panelists. It is now time to begin our awards ceremony. We'll be awarding 7 winners, 6 Black-owned businesses of the year, and a Black CEO from a nonprofit organization. Please welcome back Donna DeBerry, who will be announcing our first set of the awards for the Black Businesses of the Year.
Thanks, Barb. We will be awarding 4 Black Business Awards, 3 privately held companies, and 1 nonprofit. The first winner is Maya's Cookies. Founded in 2015 by Maya Matson, Maya's Cookies is America's #1 Black-owned gourmet vegan cookie company. But Maya's story is not one of overnight success. It is a story of hard work and community service. From a farmer's market favorite to a national spotlight, Maya's Cookies has been featured in numerous local and national media. Her cookies recently won Best Vegan Baked Goods in PETA's 2020 Libby Awards. Maya has placed an emphasis on strong jobs and building relationships with vendors, leading a roundtable of local vegan businesses, mentoring up-and-coming businesses, and giving back to local nonprofit charities and educational institutions. At the beginning of the pandemic, things nearly came to a standstill. Initially, Maya had to lay off about half of her staff. And in 2019, a majority of Maya's business came from farmers markets. And as a result, her primary source of revenue came to a screeching halt. Her business model had to pivot. She threw more effort into e-commerce. And with the nation's increasing focus on social and racial injustice, there were several lists that circulated with Black-owned businesses to support. And Maya ended up in many of those lists. And as a result, endured a 10,000% increase in sales over the course of a couple of days. She was able to rehire her staff, hire more people, buy new equipment, procure a bigger kitchen, warehouse, offices, and more. Please welcome Maya Matson, owners of Maya's Cookies.
Thank you, distinguished panelists, guests, and the San Diego Business Journal for including Maya's Cookies in this amazing event. This has been a whirlwind year for my business. From a local farmer's market brand to today, Maya's Cookies has grown 6 times over in the past year. It has been a challenging year for many of us, and I know firsthand how hard the small businesses and entrepreneurs are working right now. I know the sweat, the tears, the grit, and the sheer will that it is taking to get through each day. But I also know that the biggest lesson for me is that I could not do any of this without the incredible support of the San Diego community. Winning this award is such an incredible honor. Sometimes you work so hard and you're so focused on the work that when you look up and see that someone has noticed your work, it seems like such a surprise. My goal is to continue to grow this business, provide jobs, keep our vendors busy, and hope to be an anchor business for San Diego. A business that you all feel proud to say Maya's Cookies, that brand is based in San Diego. And this year in particular, with the horrific death of George Floyd and the increased awareness for social and racial injustices, my community reached out to lift up Black-owned businesses, and honestly, that matters. For my friends, allies, fellow businesses, that support matters. I hope to see you all at Maya's Cookies and that we continue to bring pride to our city. Thank you again for this award. This isn't just for me, but I will bring this back to the Maya's Cookies team. As I always say, cookies make people happy, and it turns out, so does this amazing recognition. I'd like to thank my husband and my 3 sons for their undying support, as well as the San Diego chapter of the Links Incorporated, which I'm a proud member, and of course, Miss Janice Brown. Thank you.
The next winner is Juiced Bikes. To understand what makes Juiced Bikes a successful company, it's important to understand its founder and CEO, Tora Harris. Grit, perseverance, innovation, creativity, and an obsessive pursuit of performance and perfection are all very much a part of Tora's DNA. Tora is the son of a Taiwanese mother and African-American father, splitting his childhood between Taiwan and Atlanta. A fluent Chinese speaker, Tora excelled equally in athletics and academics, eventually leading him to Princeton University. His list of accomplishments is remarkable and extensive, including multiple NCAA championships and Princeton's exclusive Athlete of the Decade 2000 to 2009 award. It was his athletic accomplishments as a champion high jumper that eventually led Tor to Chula Vista, and their esteemed Juice Bikes has grown and flourished into a highly respected and recognized brand in the country's exploding electric bike market. Juice has been building its business for more than a decade. Most recently, Juice Bikes Hyper Scorpion e-bike was named Best Electric Bike of the Year. Juice has consistently utilized San Diego-based suppliers and local vendors to provide services and products. Tora believes strongly in working with San Diego schools to develop engineering and science skills with local students, offering hand-on internships at the company's headquarters. The majority of Juice employees are proud members of underserved communities in San Diego and Chula Vista. They reflect the very unique characteristics of our county. Most recently, the company established a charter community inclusivity program, allowing employees to select local diversity-based organizations to receive financial and volunteer support. Please welcome Tora Harris, founder of Juiced Bikes.
First of all, I'd like to thank the San Diego Business Journal and the Central San Diego Black Chamber of Commerce for presenting us with this award. Super excited to have this recognition. And like everybody else, I'm stuck behind a computer these days, overseas on business. I came to San Diego basically for one reason, and that's performance. I was an Olympic athlete, and I ended up at the Olympic Training Center down in Chula Vista. Juice Bikes started in the storage unit down in Otay Mesa, and we've been in San Diego ever since. And really the driving force for the business has just been two things. You know, we've been, basically we take the tools that we have and we figure out how to make a great product. The second part of that is we sell the product at a profit, and we invest those resources back in, get the right people to join our team, and continue making a great product. So when we're in our hiring and finding people to join our team, we really look for who can deliver the best performance. And I never really thought about diversity in the workplace until this year, when we had the Zoom call and I could see everybody, on one screen. I'm like, wow, this company is like super diverse. But it's really about the performance. And I was part of growing up, I was part of a minority to majority program that brought basically underprivileged kids to, let's say, the better schools in the part of the town in Atlanta. And that was really an eye-opener. Really shows you, the level that you need to be at and where you need to be. And the other part of that is connecting the education and the training and the discipline to reach your potential. I hope this award can highlight our company and, let people recognize, especially of color, what's possible, and really continue to look for ways to improve ourselves and also our community. Thank you very much.
The next winner is Omni-2 Max. Omni-2 Max has decades of military systems operations, engineering, logistics, and DoD acquisition and contracting experience. Senior leadership has represented programs and solutions at various levels, such as Chief of Naval Operations, Navy-type commanders, operational and joint test multiple service system commands. The company is a certified service disabled veteran-owned, minority, small disadvantaged business, and ISO 9001, and has a top secret facility clearance. The president and CEO, Alan Maxwell, is also a best-selling author with the book, The System is Unforgiving, Play by the Rules and Win. After a 22-year career in the US Navy, in 2009, he came to a point where he realized he could be a defense contractor himself. And this is when Omni-2 Max was born. Omni-2 Max core's competency consists of cybersecurity, information technology, logistics, program and help desk customer relation management, systems engineering, and performance-based acquisition. The company has sustained exceptional contracts performance appraisal systems rating on several of their contracts. Omni2 has provided mentor and internships and is a thermal paper supplier to veteran patients. They've also sponsored Victory Christian Academy Technology Arm and Servatech educational program, as well as supported Just in Time for Foster Youth and Make-A-Wish Foundation. Please welcome Alan Maxwell, owner of Omni2 Max.
Hi, good afternoon. I'm Alan Maxwell. Hey, I just want to say thank you for such a prestigious award. I want to thank the San Diego Business Journal, the Black Chamber of Commerce, and all that participated and selected me and my company as an awardee. This is a prestigious honor, and I'm very, very excited about it. I don't know what to say. This is the first of receiving such prestigious awards. So I just want to say thank you very much for your considerations and for this award.
And the final winner is the Neighborhood Housing Association. The Neighborhood Housing Association has established itself as one of the largest nonprofits in San Diego County and has impacted the lives of thousands of families through its program. These programs work together to form the agency's continuum of care model, a service delivery model that begins at the prenatal stages of life, including wraparound services for the entire family, and continues all the way to senior care. When the pandemic hit, under Rudy Johnson's leadership, NHA quickly pivoted to provide for the health and education of families. They have established food distribution centers across the county, and their Head Start program has been able to maintain quality teaching for 7,000 students across San Diego. In order to sustain so many programs, they have partnered with a wide variety of organizations to serve San Diegans, whether it be transportation services, support for educational outings, and even providing things such as laptops for families. Please welcome Rudolph Johnson, President and CEO of the Neighborhood Housing Association.
I'm Rudolph Johnson, President and CEO of the Neighborhood House Association here in San Diego, California. On behalf of our board members and all 801 team members, we want to thank the San Diego Business Journal for this prestigious award. Our workforce reflects the diversity of San Diego. However, African Americans serve at all levels of our organization, including key leadership positions. We value this award and we pledge to continue the excellent work here in the San Diego area. Thank you so much.
Congratulations to all of the Black-owned businesses of the year winners. Now, please welcome Bruce Mayberry, Chairman of the Board at the Central San Diego Black Chamber of Commerce, who will be announcing the Rising Star Company winners.
Thanks, Barb. It's my pleasure to announce the first Rising Star Company winner is the Black San Diego Magazine. The Black San Diego Magazine began publishing in 2020 to increase the education, empowerment, and economics of the Black entrepreneur and small business community in San Diego. The magazine has gained U.S. media coverage with CBS 8, ABC 10, and KUSI News, and has partnered with local business to extend our continued support to the community through promotions and strategic programming. The Black San Diego Magazine has received 2 proclamations from County Supervisor Nate Fletcher and former Mayor Kevin Faulkner of the City of San Diego. The company provides a 3-month free entrepreneur program to help create and foster African-American entrepreneurs. Through a unique and individualized approach, the Black San Diego Magazine has been able to assist African-American entrepreneurs to understand their own business economics, pricing strategy, branding, and more. The program has been turned into a 501c3 nonprofit. Please welcome Michael Cox, owner and publisher at Black San Diego Magazine.
San Diego Business Journal. This is Michael Cox, owner and publisher of Black SD Magazine. I want to thank you so much again for the award of Rising Star Company of the Year. It means so much to me because of all the hard work and efforts my team puts into making sure that we are able to produce amazing stories, stay involved with the community, helping the entrepreneurs and creators and small business owners. It just means so much, and I'm just so grateful that it's recognized and that the work is going noticed. So thank you so much again, and thank you for putting on this amazing event for all the other winners, all the other Black-owned businesses, entrepreneurs, and creatives who are really, really living their mark in San Diego. Thank you once again. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
The next winner is Imperium First Consulting. Christine Wilson has been assisting prime contractors for the past 10 years in contract compliance and prevailing wage oversight. Imperium First Consulting has been targeting small businesses through outreach methods, encouraging them to learn about certification, contract opportunities, and vendor registration to obtain their certification through many of the local, state, and federal agencies whose mission is to support small business initiatives, thereby ensuring that they are included in large bid opportunities. The firm has also teamed up with Strategic Business Solutions, a woman-owned DBE firm, to provide mentor and outreach services for small business owners. Since the pandemic, the firm and Strategic Business Solutions integrated virtual platforms to continue their mission of helping small businesses. As a minority-owned business, IFC highly encourages diversity and utilize individuals from diverse backgrounds when necessary to assist us with complex consulting matters. IFC recently developed an internship program that allows students to gain hands-on skills in office administration and creating a path for student advancement. Imperium First Consulting has worked on projects with numerous government agencies across California. Please welcome Christine Wilson, the Labor and Contract Compliance Manager at Imperium First Consulting.
Thank you for this recognition. I am honored and accept this award with gratitude. Thank you to my clients for giving me the opportunity to serve. And thank you to the Small Business Development Center, especially the North County office, for your support. Imperium First Consulting was established in 2015 while I was working as a full-time employee. I was a third-tier sub back then. I worked my way up to being a second-tier sub. In 2017, IFC became a certified DBE firm. The DBE certification made it possible for us to retain small business contracts, build relationships, and partner with A&E consultant firms and also prime contractors. Imperium First Consulting mainly focuses on contract oversight for federal and state projects. This environment is demanding, complex, but also filled with many possibilities. This award would not be possible without my team. Thank you, Team IFC, for your continued support. Imperium First Consulting will continue to grow and provide a more customized service for our clients. Once again, I'd like to thank San Diego Black Chamber of Commerce for your support to small businesses.
Our final winner in the Rising Star Company category is ComSafe AI. ComSafe AI is a first-of-its-kind technology company that specializes in conflict and violence prevention. It's leading the charge in keeping people safe in the workplace. Its founder, retired Navy SEAL Ty Smith, has assembled a small but powerful team of experts in technology, military special operations, data science, and law enforcement. The company has grown with little capital and is on track to get a piece of the multi-billion-dollar security market. Smith is a true leader in his space and has already become a sought-after authority in violence and conflict resolution. The company was named as one of San Diego's coolest companies by Connect with San Diego Venture Group. ComSafe AI has also been featured in various local and national publications and media outlets. ComSafe AI has developed a first-to-market software as a service tool that allows organizations to get ahead of threats and violence in the workplace before they happen. The initiative Communications Safety Analysis software was created by the company's military special operations and specialized law enforcement experts and will also include web-based conflict and violence training. The first-time AI tool analyzes communications in real time and flags toxic messages. similar to the algorithm of an email spam filter that would threaten the integrity of a safe communication space or violate shared company values. The software tracks tone, meaning that the algorithm can systematically tell if the tone of a message is insulting by analyzing word choice and word patterns. Please welcome Ty Smith, founder of ComSafe AI.
Hi, my name is Ty Smith. I'm the founder and CEO of ComSafe AI, a service-disabled, veteran-owned, and minority-owned technology company based in San Diego, California. ComSafe AI specializes in disrupting new and emerging threats for our clients 24/7. And I want to say thank you to the San Diego Business Journal for the nomination and the award for Rising Star Company and in the San Diego Business Journal's Black Businesses Matter initiative. I really appreciate this award for several reasons. First and foremost, over the last 5 years that I've been growing this company, it's been the hardest thing I've ever done. And I've done some pretty hard things before this, but this has been challenging to say the least. And to receive this kind of award from an organization like the San Diego Business Journal, this is more than just market feedback. This is absolute validation of all of the hard work that the ComSafe AI team and myself has done over the last 5 years in order to build this organization into something that's valuable and deserves to be representing our great city of San Diego, California. So again, I want to say thank you so much for the nomination of the award. And I want to say thank you so much for actually choosing us as a winner and for believing in me as the leader in this company. So thank you again to San Diego Business Journal. Thank you for the Black Businesses Matter initiative. And thank you so much for the award of Rising Star Company in 2021.
This concludes our program, everyone. Congratulations to all of the winners. You make our community of business very proud. And I would also like to remind everyone that you can read more about all of our honorees in our print and digital editions, and this entire event will be available on sdbj.com. Thank you to all of us for joining us and for your support of Black-owned businesses.